go to the weekends to the artiste, Peg. You've been around the world recently, haven't you, Peg? Yeah, spent a year going around the world. But her interesting fact about her is that she's the youngest of 9, and she has over 100 first cousins. Imagine Christmas in that household. Ladies and gentlemen, Peg Alexander!
Ready?
Yep.
Go.
This is me and my husband Patrick getting married. We met in our late 30s. Everything was brilliant. Got married at 40. Great jobs, lovely home. And then came along George Osborne, shit economy, trying to become parents, miscarriages, trying to adopt a child, etc. So last year we said, sod it. We rented out our house, we gave up our work, and we spent nearly a year travelling around the world in what we called a midlife crisis adventure, and it was absolutely wonderful. The first place we went was Turkey, where we repaired our marriage. And we also got to experience things that would become commonplace in our lives for the next year, i.e. long coach journeys, shit bunk beds, and sleeping on people's floors. But we met a woman in Thailand, from Vancouver, and she said her dad used to always say, jump and the net will appear. And I think that's the story of our trip, because we jumped and everywhere we went, nets just kept appearing and we didn't get stressed. And when we landed in Delhi, to be honest, we just thought we'd landed in the worst place on earth. I have to be honest about that. We were absolutely shocked, but we were determined not to get too stressed. We were determined that things would come along and we would have an amazing time. And how amazing time we had, because we got to see places like the Taj Mahal, you know, maybe the best building in the world. We got to travel all over. Things just sorted themselves out. Even little visits in Indian hospitals, which I had got sorted out. And we went to Goa and we did the whole hippie thing. We spent a month in Goa in a wonderful hostel. And in that hostel, I think we kind of thought backpackers were all right people, which we learned that they're very generally not when we got to New Zealand, but there you go. I even found myself, by mistake, in a tantric meditation session. But we found meditation. And then we went on to Thailand and Vietnam and other parts of Asia. And that was interesting because there we were on some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. It was amazing, it was brilliant. But at the same time, our lives got really small. Because sometimes people wouldn't talk to us for weeks on end because we were just too old. You know, we were dismissed. And certainly in Vietnam, where there was no Facebook, it was quite difficult. But we kept, you know, we kept positive and we kept going. Went through Asia, got to Singapore, had one of the 3 best nights of my life in that hotel. I have to say, best days, my wedding, poll tax riots, and a day in Marina Bay Sands Hotel in Singapore. It was wonderful. And then things changed when we started to get into the West, and we got to Australia, the most expensive country in the world, with no money. But, you know, everything just kept falling into place. We went all over Australia. People took us out for meals. They lent us cars. When we went to New Zealand, we managed to do all of New Zealand because we won a competition and we won a free camper van for 2 weeks. It was fabulous. And we travelled all over Hot Water Beach and got to go to Milford Sound, which is probably the most beautiful place on earth. And the good luck just kept coming, it really did. We got to Hawaii, we stayed in the worst hostel in the world, and that will be the subject of a Bettakultcha presentation in the future. But we were really paranoid about LA, because it's obviously very dangerous, and the hostels are supposed to be really bad. But then suddenly my brother, he lives in Barcelona, he emails me saying, oh, I'm living in Hollywood at the moment, I've got a flat for you, I'll pick you up at the airport. It was absolutely brilliant. And we were determined to try and do a road trip from Vegas to San Francisco. If you do that road trip, you drive through Death Valley, you drive through the desert, you go up through Yosemite, it's amazing. It happened. We got this big, massive RV, 25 foot long it was, and we even got paid to drive it. We didn't even have to pay to hire it. It was brilliant. And throughout North America, I was determined when we got to New York, right at the very end, we would find somewhere where we could eat breakfast overlooking the skyline of Manhattan. And then, just before we got there, a friend of a friend emailed and she invited us to stay on her 28th floor apartment by Central Park. And we did that on our very last morning, eating our breakfast, looking out over the rooftops. But you know, sometimes life doesn't go well, but we were on the trip for a reason. And we went to Christchurch. And they're still recovering from the earthquake there 3 years later. In fact, the friend we stayed with put on Facebook this weekend, his life is still really difficult. So sometimes you do have to just jump. When we came back to Yorkshire just over 4 weeks ago, we had no job, no place to live, and no stuff, because it's all in our loft in a rented out house. But everything's worked out okay. We've got all these stories to tell, and you will probably hear some of them at some point. We've had the most amazing time. There was a quote I heard when we were travelling. It said, "When nothing is certain, everything is possible." And sometimes I think to make things possible, you just have to make things not at all certain. Thank you.